Hello and welcome back to Fun English with Alex language video. In today's video, we are going to practice one of my favorite English grammar points, superlative. Superlatives are very useful in the English language. I promise by the end of today's video, you will know what a superlative is and how to use it. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. That way you get the new videos when they come out every Saturday morning. If you're one of our advanced learners, I do make a short video, about 15 to 20 seconds long, of idioms that you can use daily. That's a fun one. So if you get a chance, make sure you look at those short videos, idioms of the day. All right, guys, without any further ado, let's get over to the classroom and get started with today's lesson. Okay, let's get started with today's lesson. So today we are going to learn about superlatives. Before we go any further, we need to look at a definition of what a superlative is. A superlative is the form of an adjective or an adverb used to compare three or more things. It is also a descriptive term used to express that a noun is at its most extreme level it can reach in a given scenario, whether that is a positive direction or negative direction. I promise by the end of this video, you will 100% understand what that means. When using superlatives in the English language, there are only 4 things you have to remember. Number 1, syllables. Syllables are very, very, very important in using superlatives correctly. If you're not familiar with a syllable, basically a syllable is the sounds in a word. For example, my name, Alex. Alex. How many sounds do you hear? Alex. How many syllables do you hear? Alex. So syllables and sound is the same thing. So in my name, there are 2 syllables. There are 2 sounds. Alex. How about chicken? Chicken. How many syllables do you hear? How many sounds do you hear? Chicken. Did you say 2? Right. How about rainbow? Rainbow. How many syllables do you hear? 2? You're right. So now that we understand what a syllable is, I promise this will be very important a little bit later in the video. Now we have to move on to point number 2. Let's take a look at some adjectives right here. You have big, small, fast, slow, old, and young. These are all adjectives. So what superlatives do here, they want to tell you what the biggest thing is, what the smallest thing is, what the fastest thing is, what the oldest thing is. All right, let's look at some examples, and I think it'll make it a little bit clearer. So before we said big, small, fast, slow, old, young. Now let's put these adjectives in a sentence and change them and make them superlatives. Number 1, Russia is the biggest country in the world. Number 2, the Vatican is the smallest country in the world. If you know where the Vatican is, please put it in the comments section below. Number 3, the fastest animal on earth is the cheetah. Number 4, the slowest animal on earth is a toad sloth. Number 5, the oldest man on earth is 119 years old. What country do you think this very old man lives in? In the comment section below, if you think you know, please put what country you think this 119-year-old man is from. And number 6, the youngest man to go to space was 25 years old. Okay, now let's take a look at those sentences again. A lot of you notice that normally you just add est to a word and you make it the biggest or the largest. For example, Russia is the biggest, so the number one biggest country in the world. Or the Vatican is the smallest, the number one smallest country in the world. Or the cheetah is the fastest animal on earth. The slowest animal on earth is the sloth. Or the oldest man is 119 years old. Or the last one, the youngest man to go to space was 25. So when you want to use a superlative, you're trying to tell someone about the biggest thing, or the fastest thing, or the slowest thing, or the smallest thing. Now, a lot of you might notice here that when you want to make an adjective a superlative, you just add est. And you are right. A little bit. There is one little trick. So normally you add est to the end of a word to make it number one when you're making a superlative. But you might notice for big, you put biggest. So this is one of those special little rules in English. If you ever see a word end with a B, an I, or a G, you have to double it. You have to double it if that B-I-G has a vowel in front. I know that's a little confusing, but stay with me. So if you have a word like big, B-I-G, before the G, you have a vowel, which is an I. And if you're not familiar with the vowels, a vowel is A, E, I, O, and U. So if you have an adjective that ends in a B, an I, or a G, and before that B, I, or G, you have a vowel, you have to double that last letter, that last consonant. That's why when you say biggest, it's B-I-G-G-E-S-T. If the word does not end in a B, an I, or a G, you do not have to double it. Whew. I know, that was the most complicated part. All right, moving along to the next point. Let's look at some more words here. You have smelly, funny, crazy, silly. What do you notice about these words? That's right, they all end in a Y. Let's look at some example sentences of these words. Number 1. I think breadfruit is the smelliest fruit. Number 2. I think Jim Carrey is the funniest comedian. Number 3. I think bungee jumping is the craziest activity. Number 4. I think SpongeBob SquarePants is the silliest cartoon. Now, some of you might notice here you still have the EST, but you have an I before the EST. So rule number 2, if the word ends in a Y, take away the Y and add IEST. All right, are you still with me? Okay, a little more. And the final part of learning about superlatives, let's take a look at some more vocabulary. Dangerous, expensive, enthusiastic, fantastic, cheerful. Now, let's look at these words in sentences. I think skydiving is the most dangerous sport. Number 2, I think homes in British Columbia, Canada are the most expensive in all of Canada. Number 3, I think Pam is the most enthusiastic person I know. Well, maybe a little bit. And number 4, I think Japanese curry is the most fantastic Japanese food in the world. Number 5, I think President Obama seems to be the most cheerful president in the United States. So you see here, these are a little bit different. Instead of adding est, you left the adjective the same, but you added most in front. This is where syllables are very important. If a word has 2 syllables or more, you have to add most. So let's take a look at the first word, dangerous. How many syllables do you think dangerous has? All right, let's count that out. Dangerous. There are 3 syllables in dangerous, so you have to say most dangerous. How about expensive? How many syllables do you think in expensive? All right, let's try together. Expensive. Expensive. 3 syllables. How about enthusiastic? How many syllables are in enthusiastic? Okay, enthusiastic. 5 syllables in enthusiastic. And the last one, cheerful. How many syllables in cheerful? Cheerful. Just 2. So the last point, point number 4, that you need to know when using superlatives, if an adjective or an adverb has more than 2 syllables, you have to use most. And if you go back up to the top, when we talked about big, small, fast, slow, old, and young, how many syllables in big? Big, small, fast, slow, old, young. So words with 1 syllable, you add est. And the second point, words that end in y, you take away the y and add iest. All right, guys, I hope you learned a lot in today's lesson. If you have any questions, please ask me down below, and I promise I will answer all of your questions. Until the next time we meet, aloha.